Our story begins in June of 1561, in the bustling city of Cadiz on Spain's Atlantic coast. It is from here that many set out to brave the challenges of a new world. For it is said that beyond the Atlantic, fame and fortune awaits the fearless and the brave. It is this hope which one day leads a young man to embark on a long journey after a number of hapless years. But hope has the most powerful enemy, fate. And so it comes to pass that the ship is beset by a terrible storm, but a few days' journey from the New World. The storm damages the ship severely, and a huge wave sweeps the young man overboard. The next morning, he awakes, senses befuddled, and all hope gone. But this time, fate proves gracious, for the accident took place on the busy trade route between St. Augustine and Port Royale. And so the young man, clinging to life with the last remains of his strength, is rescued by a Spanish merchant ship. Delighted that they were able to rescue a fellow countryman, the ship's sailors listen avidly to news from the home they have not seen in so long. An elderly passenger mingles with the sailors, and his eyes light up when he hears of the young man's origins, for he too is from Cadiz. His name is Pedro de Vega, and he is the Spanish Viceroy's commercial attaché. It is at his side that the young man enters the New World, breathing deeply of its heady scent. Here, his dream of a better life will be fulfilled. Of that he is sure, and his newfound friend promises to help him along.
Once again, allow me to welcome you to Port Royale, the seat of the Spanish Viceroy here in the New World. I will help you settle into your new city more quickly. I have had a small ship anchored in the harbour for you. You will find the city's most important buildings near the market square. Click them to perform different actions. There you will also find your first warehouse. I will get back to you once you've sold your first goods in another city. Welcome to Port Royale. This is your hometown for now, in which you already even own a warehouse. You can adjust the level of magnification and the camera angle at will. The city view shows all of the buildings in the city. These include action buildings, homes, and businesses. At first, the action buildings are most important for you. They are always in the center of town. You can enter them to perform certain actions, such as here in the dock, the most important building. This is where all of the trading for the entire city is done. If you have a convoy in port, you can select it directly. This displays data on the convoy on the right. Note, convoys consist of one or more ships and have a captain. More on that later. To send your convoy out, you must first leave town and go to the nautical chart. Here all the cities you know are shown. You can adjust the area shown and zoom level just the same as in the city. Select a destination city for your convoy, and then select Send Convoy Here. Now you can see which route your convoy will take. If you have nothing else to do, you can also speed up time. Once your convoy has arrived in another city, you can then trade there. You can either enter the city or trade directly between the city and your selected convoy. In the trading window, the goods on board your convoy are displayed on the right. In order to sell them, select the goods and move the slider towards the city. Then confirm the trade. I will explain the significance of the prices and quantities displayed later. Now that you know how to transport goods between cities, you can do me a favor. Please send your convoy to Port-au-Prince and buy 100 barrels of sugar. We need this sugar here in Port Royale for rum. I now want to tell you more about products and prices. Most importantly, there are 20 different commodities, and each commodity is required in every city. But any one city can only produce a maximum of 5. The commodities must therefore be traded between cities. Most of this is done by the many traders you meet at sea. When a city produces a commodity, they usually also end up with surpluses, which you can buy cheap. If you then sell them somewhere where that same commodity is scarce, you will receive a much higher price. In the beginning, these trading profits will be your main source of income. In the trading window, those commodities which can be produced in the city are marked. The current stock of the commodities will also be displayed. Remember, only buy when 2 or more bars are showing, and only sell at less than 2 bars. For example, Port-au-Prince produces sugar, and therefore often has a large amount left over for export. If you buy this product now, the displayed price per barrel may change, because the more goods you buy, the scarcer that commodity is in the city. This can lead to the price rising sharply, because it is always subject to the law of supply and demand. So always watch both the price and the stock of any given commodity. Although Port Royale produces no sugar, it does need some for its citizens and rum production. And indeed, the price of sugar is actually higher than the average price paid. Of course, the law of supply and demand also applies when selling a product. Therefore, the price of a given commodity may drop when selling, so always watch both the selling price and the stock of the commodity traded before you confirm the trade. Incidentally, if a city is lacking too many commodities, its citizens will become dissatisfied. You can view the current satisfaction in the city information. It is also influenced by events. This is also where your popularity in the city is displayed. Selling scarce goods helps to raise it. Good. Now you know how to earn gold through trading. No matter which path you follow later, never forget that you must keep an eye on prices. Don't worry, you will find that it soon becomes very easy. And that's important because you will need a lot of gold if you want to achieve a higher rank. Higher ranks open an entire host of new possibilities. I leave you alone for a while now, as I have an interview with the Viceroy. I'll be back soon. You are sure to have noticed this area of the HUD. Your current cash balance will be displayed here. Above that is your current rank and your progress towards advancement to the next rank. Initially, progress is determined solely by your assets, whereby those assets consist not only of your money, but also your buildings, ships, and goods. As your wealth increases, so does the progress bar. Once it is completely filled, you progress on to the next rank. This is important because you can only perform certain actions once your rank is high enough. For example, You must have a certain rank to speak to architects and governors. You can see what you still need for the next rank in your logbook. It also contains a great deal of other useful information, such as your current reputation among the different nations. But I will tell you more about nations and your reputation later. For now, the important thing is that you attain the next rank. In the beginning, it will be easiest for you to do so by trading. An example, Port Royale produces rum, for which they require sugar, while Port-au-Prince produces sugar, but no rum. Santiago could use both, and has wood to offer. This is ideal for a small three-legged trade. Very good, that's done. Now we come to ships and convoys. Here you have to remember, single ships have no crews and therefore cannot be sent out. To use a ship, you must either convert it into a convoy or add it to an existing convoy. It then automatically receives the mandatory basic crew. By the way, only one captain is required per convoy, and his skills can improve over time. Single ships are of little use, because they have neither a captain nor crew. You can only actively use a ship after you have either converted it into a convoy or added it to an existing one. To add a ship to an existing convoy, both convoy and ship must lie at anchor in the same port, and the convoy must be selected. Then you can enter the harbour master's office. Here the harbour is displayed on the left, with the selected convoy on the right. You can now add the ship to the convoy by selecting it on the left. The free ship is now gone from the harbour, as only the largest ship in a convoy is shown. Your convoy now has 2 ships. The cargo space and number of cannons have increased accordingly. The convoy display is divided into different areas. Under goods, you see the goods loaded. The next area is particularly interesting. It shows your convoy's fighting strength. Per convoy, you can define up to 3 ships which are to defend the convoy in case of battle. You can let these battles run in the background. You can also fight any battle yourself and control your escort ships manually. As long as no escort vessels are defined, the convoy's fighting strength is 0. The number next to that shows how great it could be if you declare the strongest ships battleships. You can have this done automatically. You can also manage your escort ships yourself, but more on that later. The important thing is that fighting strength is mostly determined by cannons and a ship's condition. But the sailors also play a major role. Your cannons reload fastest when your convoy has at least 4 sailors available per escort ship cannon. This will maximize your convoy's fighting strength. Whenever you meet another convoy on the chart, you can immediately see its fighting strength. This way, you can estimate how good your chances against that convoy would be. One more thing. The captain area lets you see how much your convoy costs per day. Every ship requires a certain upkeep, from which the captain and crew are paid. There are also additional costs for any additional sailors hired. This overview also shows you what experience your captain has. Captains automatically learn more when they perform certain tasks. For example, if a captain is often embroiled in naval battles, his battle experience increases. There are also extra teachers for captains in the Caribbean, whom you will sooner or later meet in the city taverns. They will train your captains for a fee. Incidentally, you can view a description of all the symbols shown at any time. If available, you will find other tips and information relevant to the current situation displayed here. Good. But now for something completely different. Elena, the daughter of the Spanish viceroy, has a diplomatic mission to New Orleans. The tensions between France and Spain require that she travel as inconspicuously as possible. I therefore suggested to the viceroy that you would provide her passage. She will board your convoy secretly, which should protect her from potential adversaries. At the beginning of the game, only a few cities are displayed on the chart. You can discover other cities by approaching them with a convoy. The city symbol itself gives an indication of the city's size. It also shows the commodity the city currently needs most. Special events in the city are also displayed on the chart. You can view all of the information by opening the city information. It belongs to the dockyard building, which you already know from the trade window. Even if you cannot enter a city because you have neither warehouse nor convoy there, you can still open the city information from the marine chart. The city information tells you everything you need to know about a city. The most important factors are nation, population, the commodities producible in the city, and the city type. The latter indicates whether the city is a simple colonial city or home to a governor or viceroy of that nation. This has implications for the city's size, its defense, and its demands for commodities. The reputation that you have with the city's nation has the following effect. If your reputation is less than 25%, the nation will view you as an enemy. That will happen, for example, if you attack their convoys. Then you should be wary of their military convoys. As you've already determined, 4 nations are represented in the Caribbean: Spain, England, France, and Holland. Your reputation with each of these 4 nations will always be shown here. Also shown here is the current relationship of the nations to one another. A nation can either be neutral to all other nations, at war with, or allied to another nation. Relationships between nations are not irrelevant for you. However, they will only play a role when you act for or against a nation and have acquired a letter of marque against a different nation from a viceroy. All that is important at the start is ensuring your reputation in a nation does not fall below 25%, and that the military convoys of nations at war are constantly fighting one another. You can enhance your reputation in a nation only by accepting and fulfilling assignments for an administrator, governor, or viceroy of that nation. These assignments are offered in the city palace, but you need a certain rank to accept them. One more thing about the chart. Each maritime area is associated with a particular power. The flag and its intensity shows you which power has the greatest fighting strength here. Normally, cities and maritime regions belong to the same nation, as that nation's military convoys will be patrolling the area. Things become interesting when the city and the maritime region belong to different nations, because then the city might just come under attack.
It sounded like a simple, easy trip to New Orleans, conducting a young woman to a diplomatic meeting. Yet she does not like the fact that she has to travel with commoners to remain undetected. And she is also unhappy as she suspects the real reason for her meeting with the French viceroy is simply a chance for him to present his son. The young captain notices her anger and tries to cheer her up, at first in vain, but eventually she laughs, and her radiant eyes burn themselves into his soul. But then she thinks of her mission, and the fact that it is unseemly for a woman of her station to give a common sailor any more attention than is absolutely necessary. And yet, that moment is all it takes for a young man to fall in love with a young woman.
Excellent! You've discovered a new city, and Elena arrived safely in New Orleans. We can only hope that her mission is successful, and that relations between France and Spain soon improve. She will stay a while before returning home later with another convoy. Well, you've learned the basics. How it goes from here depends on which path you have chosen.
A young man tormented by the thought of Elena being forever out of his reach. Even if their paths were to cross again at some point, why should she give him more than a passing glance? After all, he is just a nobody. His chain of thought is interrupted by an excited discussion at the next table. Two captains are wondering what happened to the daughter of the Spanish viceroy. She had boarded a ship for the return voyage after her diplomatic mission in New Orleans, but the ship was never seen again. Admiral de Mendoza, Elena's uncle, is beside himself with rage and determined to move heaven and earth to find her. The young man is upset, but he makes his decision. He will save Elena. If he can convince the viceroy that he will stop at nothing, the viceroy will give him the chance. Of that he is sure. He painstakingly prepares himself for a perfect audience. Pedro de Vega gets him a brief audience. Elena's father is devastated, but he draws hope from the unknown young man's self-confidence. The viceroy sees that the young man is acting not just out of duty, and thus knows that he will not give up until Elena has been saved.
So, you are the one who will help us find Elena. Well enough, you've convinced the Viceroy, and I'm sure we use all the help we can